Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to have you with us. Today, we're going to talk about EdTech, one of the most exciting verticals within the tech space. We have a fantastic panel for you today. Allow me to briefly intro them. Firstly, my guest and co-host, Alexey Yermolenko from Flyer One Ventures. Second, we have Carrie Funk, a CEO of Chess.Kid. And Carrie, very quick disclaimer, one of my kids is your customer. And then finally, founder and CEO of AllRight, Oleg Oksyuk. Today's agenda will cover multiple topics in EdTech, from original idea to product market fit to go-to-market strategy. We'll touch upon the geographical aspects, distribution channels, fundraising. But firstly, I will pass on to Alexey, Carrie, and Oleg to briefly introduce themselves, and then we'll go to question number one. Alexey, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm Alex. I'm principal and one of three people started Flyer One Ventures, which is a pre-seed and seed stage focused venture capital with more than already 60 portfolio companies we are very proud of, and experience in consumer SaaS and marketplaces. Initially, we emerged from the product IT holding from Ukraine called Genesis that has around 15 companies in-house and very deep expertise in user acquisition. It's actually one of the largest partners of Meta in Central and Eastern Europe and around 1 billion in annual revenue. So we hugely utilize all this expertise to select companies and to support them after we invest.
Great. Oleg, thanks for having me. My name is Carrie. I'm the CEO of Chess.Kid. I've been CEO for about 5 years. I've been in the SaaS business for a while, been in tech for about 20 years. Super proud of Chess.Kid. Chess.Kid is the #1 scholastic provider of chess content in the world. We have over 5 million customers, right? We have over 5 million users right now, and we're in over 20 different languages. So I'm a huge chess nerd myself. I love chess. I'm a huge fan. I've got 2 kids of my own. So it was the perfect marriage for me to get into chess and SaaS and everything with Chess.Kid.
Fantastic. Oleg?
Great. Oleg, thank you for having me here. I'm Oleg Oksyuk, founder and CEO of AllRight, online English school for kids. I founded AllRight around 6 years ago. Before AllRight, I worked in several startups mostly on engineering side. AllRight is leading European online English school for kids. We have around 20,000 paying customers. We target most Europe except North and Russia. That's it.
Very good. I think the first probably question that I wanted to ask both of you, Carrie, and you, Oleg, is kind of the inception point. So for you, Carrie, probably the question would be what went into your brain, sort of the eureka moment is I want to do chess. And for you, Oleg, is probably kind of when the first thought came to you that kind of you started thinking about creating AllRight as a company. We'll probably start with you, Oleg, because Carrie was going first last time.
All right. So I had several reasons to start AllRight. First of all, I was interested in video streaming. Long time ago, I did PhD in this topic, and I was interested to build a collaboration platform between students and tutors. Second reason, before AllRight, I founded another marketplace as founder, and I was looking for other marketplaces and saw business opportunity here. But the main reason was my personal reason. So a few years before I founded AllRight, I moved to United States, to Silicon Valley. And this was quite challenging for me because when I moved, my English wasn't good enough probably. It could be still not perfect. And I always had difficulties with English at school, and I didn't like learning English when I was a school student, right? On the other side, I was very much surprised in a good sense how fast my kids learned English when they were young. and I was obsessed with idea of solving this problem for millions of kids like me. And I realized that the English had to be taught differently, and the earlier you start learning it, the better result you achieve. And that was probably the main reason why I found it all right. And by the way, my two kids were one of first teachers in all right. At some point, we tested idea. We tried idea when kids teach other kids. And my kids were first two teachers in this initiative. At some point, we decided that it's not scalable, and we switched to adult teachers. But anyways.
No, but yeah, they always say, right, you don't learn anything until you teach it to somebody else. Fantastic. Carrie, what was your kind of the inception moment for chess for you?
Well, it really is such a cool thing that chess is booming right now. And I think everyone around the world knows that chess has these wonderful qualities. It's like the ultimate mind sport. Okay? And I'll speak from an American perspective for a moment. And in American schools, you have other enrichment activities like art and music. And everyone understands that art and music are fantastic enrichment activities. And I've used chess my whole life as a framework for making decisions. And to me, it makes perfect sense. Now, other people who have worked with me at Chess.Kid, it made perfect sense to us that it should be in the classroom. If art and music are so respected, why isn't the ancient game of chess, which teaches you how to think ahead, how to do critical thinking, geometry concepts, even language concepts, why isn't that in the school? And if it's something that both adults and kids enjoy, we have to find a way to bring it to schools. So it was just so obvious for us to get it in schools.
Absolutely. I guess coming to kind of slightly more harder question is, obviously every time you have a startup or you have a more established company, the first question that the VC community or any private equity would ask you is what is the problem that you're solving? So what are the pain points that you truly believe that your company is helping to solve? So perhaps, Carrie, we'll start with you and then we'll go to Oleg.
Sure. Well, the first thing is chess is an easy game to learn, but it is a very difficult game to master. If it's going to be in the school, the kids need to be able to find it a fun activity. So first and foremost, chess has to be fun. Okay. On the teacher side of things, we have to convince the teachers that chess is not this alien language. It is something that anybody can learn. So we have to break down the walls that chess is a game that is so complicated that teachers who are already inundated with teaching language, teaching math, teaching science, well, now we're trying to bring in a new intellectual activity into the classroom. So we have to sort of demystify it and break down those walls. So if we can do something that's both fun and something that teachers who know very little about chess can understand, well, hey, I can do this. I can teach chess in my classroom. I teach kindergartners and I can still teach chess in the classroom. Then we have solved the problem. So those were two sort of critical pain points we needed to solve. Make it fun, make it easy and teachable in the classroom.
Oleg?
All right. So the main problem that we solve is inefficient English teaching for kids. Most kids learn English at school, but not so many kids can speak English when they become 12 years old, for example. And it's inefficient for several reasons. Maybe the main reason is fun, as Carrie said. To learn chess, it has to be fun for kids. to learn English, it has to be fun as well. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. If you want your kid to learn English, it has to be fun. This is first reason. Another, most kids learn English at school in big groups. And for example, if there is group of 15 students and there is 1 hour class, half of the lesson teacher speaks something, half of the lesson kids speak. So every kid has opportunities to speak during just 2 minutes. So it's not efficient as well. So in our school, we do online individual one-on-one classes, and during 25 minutes kids usually speak at least 12, sometimes 15-20 minutes, and they progress much more efficient way. So yeah, that's it.
Understood. Well, I guess pivoting a little bit further into the business model, when we talk about pain points, the next step after identifying the pain points and kind of trying to kind of develop a product, how do you, as directors, as CEOs of your companies, how do you sort of follow the product market fit? How you investigate the product market fit? How do you feel that product market fit is there, or kind of there, or is getting there but it's not totally there? And what kind of recommendations would you give to other EdTech founders in terms of finding that product and polishing and perfecting that product market fit? Thank you. We'll start with Oleg.
All right. So actually, the main criteria is numbers. So we looked for the numbers. If we have positive unit economics on a like big enough scale, like 100 students, then it looks like we have product market fit. And as a company who work in multiple countries, we are looking for product market fit on different markets, and we have product market fit on some market, but still don't have product market fit on other market. Also, different. Also, the big part of it is conversion rate. We are lead generation business, and our conversion varies from like 2% to 20% on different markets. And we reach product market fit usually when conversion rate is like 10% plus. For EdTech, another important criteria is efficiency of your education process. If you talk to parents who have their children in our school for a year or 2 years, and they say that they have significant progress. For example, some student managed to pass some serious English test, and they like pretend to go to college in English-speaking country, then it's a good sign that what you're doing works, and that's a good sign of product market fit. It's hard to measure on a in few months. It's something that you usually measure after half a year or year.
Understood.
Great. And to Oleg's point, data is one part of how we measure product market fit. So we know, for example, that when we have a lot of users using the Chess.Kid app or Chess.Kid web, that maybe we have something there, but that's not all there is. Maybe we see that in the iOS App Store, we're getting high reviews. So we have some evidence. We get 4.7 out of 5 stars. So we have some evidence that there's product market fit. But I would say that there's actually no better way to understand whether or not your consumers, your users really enjoy the product than by actually getting down to their level. I understand what it's like as a chess player, as an adult, to enjoy an ancient board game online. But what I have to do is figure out a way to create it so that it works for an 8-year-old kid. And how do I do that? Well, one of the best ways is actually to sit in the classroom, observe the kids as they're interacting with your product. Are their eyes lighting up? Are they getting stuck on a lesson? Do they actually laugh at the humor we're trying to convey to them during our chess lessons? If they are, if you're seeing those things happen, you have a good idea that maybe you've captured their interest. And by the same token, if the teachers understand, well, they can show this lesson on a giant screen. And even though they know very little about the game, they're able to actually facilitate the lesson to the entire classroom. And the kids are just sitting there captivated because they understand what's going on the screen and they're listening in on the teacher. Then you may have captured some of the magic and you may have found that you might have product market fit. So we're doing very well in certain markets, but as Oleg mentioned, we also are striving to reach product market fit in other countries where some of the needs may be different. So it's an ongoing process and we're still evolving. We're just trying to make it better and better every day.
Understood. All right, and with this, I think I've introduced Alexei as my co-host, and then I sort of went into kind of 15, almost 20-minute monologue. So I'm just going to segue to him and give him the power of questioning on this podcast. And Alexei, floor is yours.
Yeah, Oleg, thank you so much. You're so great interviewers. I'm just curious what's going to happen next. And I would like to follow with business model and sector like specific questions, and there are so many segments, so many niches, some or of where you can build the business. Some of them are more techy, some of them more operationally heavy, and that's very curious to know from the first-hand founders how EdTech is different from other segments probably where you worked or like had an opportunity to participate in.
Sure. I could take this one first if you don't mind.
Sure.
So EdTech is, as probably Oleg would agree to, it's highly operational. And it's very complicated in the sense that if you are just building a B2C product, you can very carefully focus on sort of your fixed personas. But when you are selling into EdTech businesses, especially at large scale, you have to understand that a school district in Florida may be different from a school district in Texas. The decision makers are different. On the ground, even the way the students operate are different. How much time teachers have during the day are different. And if you are not able to actually get into the weeds, get into the trenches, and even talk to the actual decision makers, good luck. It'll be a slog. It'll be very, very difficult. And you just have to rely on people discovering your app and hoping that it sticks. We found that that doesn't always work. Sure, people may discover your app. They may even use it for a while. But if they're not the key decision makers, and if they haven't found a way to effectively integrate it into their school day, it's very, very difficult to make it stick. So I would say that's one of the main differences we found, because Chess.Kid started out primarily as a B2C product. And we decided that it made such sense to get it into the education space that we tried to do that. But it is very, very challenging. Make no mistake about it.
Right. Thank you. Oleg, what are your thoughts on the matter?
I totally agree with Kerry that EdTech is highly operational, at least in our case, and I believe in Kerry's case. When, for example, I give you some numbers. There are right now there are around 50 people in our school work on a product. There are more than 100 people do sales and customer support, and there are around 1,000 teachers actually teach English to kids online. And it's very hard to actually it takes a lot of efforts to operate this business. And of course, there are many tech challenges in EdTech. For example, many AI is big tech challenge when it's gonna replace those teachers and maybe sales and people like that. We use AI as well. For example, AI helps us to control the quality of the lesson. Also, we trained our neural network to understand language of kids who learn English better than solutions from big companies giant companies like we used before. But those technical innovation gave us less value so far than operational things like managing all those 1,000 teachers and hundreds sales and customer support. Also, we have a lot of people who produce learning content. That's another big challenge that takes lots of workforce.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of work. Thanks for sharing. And we got the perspective that running at the company is very operationally heavy business, but actually, like an important point to become a successful EdTech company is like to start getting some traction, to have some go-to-market strategy, and you need to start with something. And Y Combinator gives a great perspective on that you should find at least first from 10 to 100 customers that will love your product. So just very curious what strategies and what, like, I don't know, cutting corner strategies did you have for finding these first 10 customers when you started to run the company?
Okay, if you don't mind, let me start. So in my case, it was relatively simple to challenges that I had later on. So after I started working on Allright, when I started working Allright, I made landing page by myself. Then I took around 50 lessons on third-party English learning platform and chose 5 best teachers there and hired them on Allright. Also, I hired somebody, first our sales representative who connected our students with teachers, and she did it all manually. And I gave some advertisement on Facebook. After on a 29th day of running this business, we had first paying customers. During first 2 months, we have 10 paying customers with positive unit economics. And by that time, I spent a year, maybe a year and a half, trying different business ideas. And I spent 2 to 6 months on each idea. And this was the 5th idea. And every single idea didn't have even 1 customer in first 2 months. But in this case, I managed to attract 10 customers in first 2 months. I wouldn't say that all were happy, but most of them were happy. And then I decided that I gonna hire a tech team and I go invest all my time and all my efforts in this business.
Yeah, very dedicated, driven. Thank you, Oleg. Kerry, what was your story?
Well, first of all, there are a lot of people who just are interested in the game of chess. And we were able to rely on some old ways that people interact with the game of chess. Like, for example, we have chess people who run their own chess clubs or who were in a chess club when they were children. So they became advocates for us within a specific school system, for example. Just through regular SEO, they're asking questions like, how do I start a chess club for my school? And they find us in their search results, and we actually have a connection or a meeting with them. So we're able to talk to them, figure out what their needs are, and implement chess at a relatively small scale or large scale, whatever is needed for their business. And we've been able to do that. So that's actually been probably the most critical way we've been able to infiltrate, is because we have on the ground ambassadors for the game of chess. These are just either parents or a school administrator. Make no mistake, kids who are 8, 9 years old, they're not searching for chess in Google. They're not searching for, I want to play chess. It comes because parents or teachers or a school administrator want to get their children involved in the game of chess. So that's a lot of ways that that's one of the big reasons people discover Chess.Kid. Okay, and so we have a staff of people that work with them. And, you know, we have we have actually 2 employees who started out as Chess.Kid customers and rolled it out into their schools before they actually became employees of Chess.Kid, because they were so passionate about it. Okay, and we're proud to say that we're even in one of the top 5 largest school districts in the United States. Okay, that's Orange County Public Schools in Florida. They've got over 100,000 kids. So we're super proud and happy to serve their kids the game of chess and their administration the game of chess. So it's not easy, but when you have advocates on the ground, in effect, they become your evangelists. They become your salespeople even. So.
Sounds fantastic. Sounds fantastic.
That's
Harry.
very interesting. Yes, indeed. If I may, I actually wanted to ask you both kind of a slightly different sort of planetary scale question. So both of you are running the companies that kind of go beyond the boundaries of one country. So there are multiple jurisdictions, multiple cultures, multiple countries. Can you give us maybe kind of a couple of anecdotes, or at least one, to say how chess is different from one country to another, or teaching English is different from one country to the other? Maybe we'll go with you, Oleg, first.
There are different goals. I'm not sure. Anecdote doesn't come to my mind, but we made some research, and there are different goals why kids learn English in different countries. For example, in Eastern Europe, in Poland, in Ukraine, parents want their kids to be successful, and they believe that kids have to speak English to be successful. In Southern Europe, like in countries like Italy, Spain, the main goal for parents why they send kids to our school is to have fun. They want their kids are happy. If the kids happy, they're happy. They don't much care about the results. They care about kids happy on the lesson, which is good thing, because if kids are happy on the lesson, they gonna speak English. But they don't much thinking about like final results. They just thinking about happiness of the students. Also, marketing is different in different countries, and acquisition funnel is different. And as I said, lead to paying customer conversion rate is different. And in some countries, when this conversion rate is low, we haven't found our product market fit yet. Also, parents from Poland and especially Germany are very much care about legal contract with the company. They tend to read terms of conditions, ask a lot of questions about it. If they're not sure if the company compliant with GDPR, that makes this is a red sign for them. In Southern Europe and in Ukraine, parents don't much care about it. Yeah, we were surprised, and we always find some surprises like that.
No, that's fascinating. It's actually very, very, very insightful. Gary?
Yeah, so as mentioned earlier, Chess.Kid has been translated into over 20 languages already. But different countries have a different perspective on the game of chess. It's universally known that chess is a game that helps you think ahead. It's a framework for how to make decisions. But for certain countries, let's say, for example, Armenia, it's actually become a mandatory part of their curriculum in the schools. Okay, so despite it being mandatory in Armenia, we still haven't found a way in there yet because we haven't figured out all the cultural nuances of how people buy a product there, of the language. Everything is very, very dependent on their cultural nuances as well. Okay, whereas, you know, let's say we also work with a nonprofit organization in Africa, where their whole goal of pushing chess is to get many of their kids off the streets and doing something productive, so that they're not doing things that could be potentially harmful to their lives. For them, it's a way of getting their kids to do something productive with their time. So it's just very, very complicated. And at a fundamental level, the very first thing we need to do as a company is just make sure that we can translate it into their language so that they feel comfortable using the product, make sure that they have access to technology, and make sure that whatever pricing model we build is appropriate for their country as well. Because in the beginning, we tried a one price fits all model and quickly found out that that certainly doesn't work. A price that works for the US will not work for, let's say, India, and will not work for Africa or countries in Africa. So we have to be very, very mindful of these things. And we have to be very, very selective about the countries we decide to focus on as well. So it's complex, but we're so excited because we know that we have almost an unlimited runway to continue to grow the business.
That's great. That's really great. And I'm really like super surprised that you're very in details on like peculiarities in different markets, and probably there are some peculiarities in distribution channels because you need to deliver your product to your customers somehow. And nowadays we have a wide range of different opportunities on not just only one-to-one peer-to-peer platforms, but somehow we can do multi-user sessions, multi-site sessions in Metaverse, for example, or we have AR, VR capacities. So my question is on the channels of delivery of your product to customers, and if you had any experiments with that were successful or just even interesting. Oleg, can we start with you?
Yes, sure. All right, we experimented with this a lot, and we have like big variety of distribution channels. Like our main product is one-on-one lessons with tutors. When one student, one tutor, a lesson, materials are embedded in a platform, and just student and tutor just one-on-one. But additionally to that, we have group lessons. So as I said, we tested it when kids teach kids, when kid teach small group of other kids. For example, my first two kids were my kids were first two teachers in this activity. And for example, my son was preparing salad during the lesson, and in that way, other kids were learning colors and vegetables. And it was lots of fun, but it was hard to scale because it's hard to demand your kids are punctual, that they always on lesson, they can manage lesson time. Not every kid can do that. So at some point we replaced kids with adults, and then we managed it successfully. And right now we call it speaking clubs. included in the price, and most students who buy individual lessons, they go on speaking club as well and practice their speaking language on the speaking clubs in the small groups of 4 to 8 students under teacher supervision. And good thing is that those speaking clubs are internationals. There are usually kids from different countries in a group, and they start to understand why do they need English, not just talk to tutor, but also talk to other kids like them from other countries, right? Also, we call it clubinars. This is big webinars for kids with usually around 100 of kids participating, and one superstar and super emotional teacher. And this is kind of this is different to speaking clubs because kids don't have a chance to speak, but they like to participate with some gestures and stuff like that. On the other side, we develop technology when kids can learn but can practice spoken English by talking to animated character with voice-only interface. And this animated character can understand kids' language, But we are still experimenting with that. We managed to sell this product, but it's not on a large scale yet. So we do a lot of experimenting in different areas, but our main distribution channel is still one-on-one lesson on our platform.
Thank you, Oleg. Kerry, what is your experience?
So if you're talking about, for example, how people discover Chess.Kid or the Chess.Kid product, the most important way for us to do that is still through search engine optimization. However, it's becoming increasingly important for people to discover the game of chess and to find Chess.Kid through things like YouTube and even Twitch, where adults are big consumers and teenagers are big consumers of YouTubers. They see their favorite streamers on YouTube or Twitch and discover the game of chess. Or adults find it, they find the game of chess and it brings back this sort of nostalgic feeling for them. And then they say, well, I want to get my son or daughter into the game of chess as well. So search engine optimization, app store optimization remain incredibly important for us. Streamers remain incredibly important for us, but I don't want to minimize the importance of some of our technology partners as well. Like for example, in the United States, one of the problems that ClassLink and Clever, these are two technology partners. One of the problems they solve is single sign-on, because you have many apps that kids have access to in the classroom. Well, one of the simple problems they run into is they forget their user ID and password. But through a single sign-on platform like Clever or ClassLink, where they actually show Chess.Kid as one of their primary apps, they discover our app and they roll it out into their classroom. And then lastly, we also have the federations, like the chess federations in different countries that we partner with to help educate the market about our product, as well as ministries of education. And if they get behind chess as an intellectual pursuit or as an academic product, then it makes it much easier for us to push it out into different school systems in their countries.
Well, that's indeed very important to get the government on your side, not the other way around. That usually helps. Talking about kind of and then pivoting and segueing a little bit more into more pragmatic and kind of more boring stuff, such as fundraising. Perhaps I could start with the question, which is maybe not kind of fundamental, but maybe a little bit niche. Since we're talking about the EdTech, there are obviously funds that are generalist in terms of SaaS, for example, Flashpoint, Flyer One is a little bit more of a kind of on a generalist side, although you guys, Alexei, you do have kind of a large part of your portfolio in EdTech, and you can talk about that. But I think there are funds that are specialists, and they are doing the kind of just only EdTech. And it's maybe a question to kind of obviously two of you, Carrie, and kind of you, Oleg, but also you, Alexei, is that kind of, have you guys had any interaction with the specialist EdTech funds, and how are these kind of interaction with them are different from interacting with just general VC community?
So on the Chess.Kid side of things, and you understand that Chess.Kid is actually part of Chess.com, which is huge and booming at the moment. Chess.com has really taken very little funding overall, and I would not say that this is the usual story of growth and success necessarily, but on the Chess.Kid side of things, we've effectively been able to kind of bootstrap and build our way up and grow accordingly. And I would say that that's not quite usual. We've had a lot of people in the VC world, even in the EdTech space, approach us like, what can we do to help bring Chess.Kid to the next level? So we're keeping open eyes and open ears in terms of what sort of additional capital we may want to bring in at some point. But for the time being, we're going to continue to try to fuel our growth as organically as possible for the moment.
Understood.
So I just want to put it out there.
Oleg, over to you.
All right. We raised 2 rounds of VC capital, and we didn't raise money from EdTech only funds, but we managed to raise money from funds like Flashpoint and Firewall Ventures, who have lots of EdTech companies. So both of you have many EdTech companies in your portfolio, and both of you created good community of EdTech founders, and those community was very valuable to me, because I had an opportunity to communicate, to talk to some of those founders on a regular basis. With some of those founders, I even went on vacation by activities organized by your funds, and we became friends. So, and this was very valuable to exchange this experience. Also, when I on a board meeting, I had lots of useful advices from your funds, because board members sit on the board of some other EdTech startups, and sometimes they give me an idea how to solve this problem and give me advice. Hey, talk to this country. They came through this problem 1 year ago, and they managed to solve it efficiently. Yeah, that was very useful for me, but not sure about just EdTech funds. I never.
Oleg, if I could interject for a moment,
Sure.
and what you said, Oleg, with All Right, is definitely something that Chess.Kid would be very interested in taking advantage of, trying to understand success stories, or even learning situations that other founders of other EdTech companies that you are all working with. I find that to be super, super helpful, super invaluable. And I'd like to know where maybe they might be able to lend us some insight that we don't know about, or maybe where even we can help them do something. So we're always looking for the right synergies, if you will. And we're always looking to take feedback or get advice from people who have been in the trenches and have understood how to break walls down. So,
no, understood, Karen. Maybe we'll kind of brainstorm with Alexei, and kind of maybe we'll kind of organize some virtual mini summit of EdTech founders, kind of with more kind of without the public, but a more free-flowing discussion, so to speak. And Oleg, thank you very much. I was definitely not soliciting for the compliment, but I'm not going to reject that. Thank you for kind of mentioning Flashpoint and Fly One as well. And I think, yeah, that's the, I only wanted to introduce the fundraising topic. Perhaps, Alexei, you may have some questions on the fundraising as well.
Yeah, I think that's very important to understand the motivation and the thoughts process from both sides, from the startup wise, and from VC wise. So probably we can bring some ideas of how does venture funds, venture capital approach their thinking and decision making around EdTech. And Oleg, for example, what traits do investors look in EdTech company? What would you look at? What, I don't know, insights, probably some interesting points to
look. I think if the question is to me, then I think one of the things that sort of I find myself being a big part of discussion, and a lot of things, especially in EdTech space, do not go beyond the TAM discussion, right? The target addressable market, because obviously kind of people try to brandish in front of you things like, well, a global educational market is that big, that huge, that enormous. And then kind of once you start sort of dissecting it, as sometimes Kerry has done, countries are different. Sometimes governments are in your favor, sometimes government are kind of in a way, right, with regulations, and kind of sometimes the school systems kind of are not even on a governmental level, but on a municipal level. Who is paying for all this? How do you convince individual teachers? Once you start slicing this cucumber into thin little pieces, it very quickly turns out that the TAM is not as huge as the founders are trying to portray, and that not that they are kind of trying to delude you, but they may be kind of a little bit more optimistic themselves, and they underestimate the fact that kind of to actually kind of address the entire addressable market, it is going to take a lot more time. But just a lot of things that what I notice is that a lot of things get shut down on the TAM discussion. It doesn't even get into this discussion of how exceptional is the founder, or kind of the product fit, what are the features. TAM sometimes is extremely underestimated in the EdTech space.
Okay, and what is the feasible volume of TAM that you will go forward with?
I think it just depends on the margin, but I think kind of once if the market itself is less than $1 billion, right, and kind of you cannot, obviously everybody is trying to become a big gorilla in a small jungle, but kind of I don't think the base case assumption is. It's almost never right that the base case assumption is that one company is going to hyper dominate the market. So you always have to be a little bit more, okay, well, maybe we'll go up to 10% of the market, maybe 10, maybe 20, maybe 30. But you can never say we're going to kind of have 50% of some market. And if the market is less than $1 billion, then kind of in itself as a conceptual theoretical concept, right? So then it's just very, very difficult to kind of make the numbers work.
Sure. Yeah.
Then I think we are probably done on the boring financial questions. So they kind of leaving on an inspirational note, perhaps. Can I ask maybe you, Oleg, and you, Kerry, to give some sort of advice to the future founders in the EdTech space when they're thinking about starting in the EdTech company? What would be your kind of final word of wisdom recommendation from people who've done it for many, many years?
Sure, I'll start if you don't mind, Oleg. I'll say that the first thing is to, and this may sound a little bit cliche, but really make sure you are solving a problem and that you're going after product market fit in a very specific way. And try to set your sights on something very specific and very simple, if possible. The simpler it is and the bigger the pain point you solve, the better. And I would also say, maybe wedge into a very specific market. The more specific, the better. And I know that sounds counterintuitive in the sense that If it's too specific, you feel like you're limiting your market. But in a lot of ways, you find your best learning by solving a problem for a very specific market first before you branch out and try to address a bigger market. And lastly, I would say, don't obsess over the business model right from the beginning. Okay, and that may also sound kind of counterintuitive, but as a guy who's been in product for so long, I see people obsessing over the business model, obsessing over, how to reach profitability and all of these things, and they don't spend enough time trying to make sure that they are really solving a problem that people have. They're really building a product that consumers can really be passionate about and really love. If they get to that point and they can wedge in and become very specific and solve a problem that they have, and the product loves it, well, you're already half of the way there, in my opinion. And then the other sort of business model problems and building out beyond your niche market will start to take care of themselves, in my opinion. So that would be sort of my words of wisdom.
Wisdom indeed. Oleg, to you.
My idea is maybe obvious. My advice is maybe obvious, but I would recommend, especially EdTech founders, to start with as simple MVP as possible and to start as fast as possible. Because sometimes, in many cases, EdTech is very operational business. And if you spend lots of time, lots of engineering efforts to build this complicated operational machine, it's most likely it's not gonna work. So first, start with something simple. Usually, if you can, without even hiring engineers, just try your idea on 10 students, on 10 customers, and make sure it works, make sure it adds some value to them. So if after you prove it, then build maybe next version on minimum viable product, more complicated, but not too complicated. So EdTech is very operational business on a large scale, but on small scale, it could be very simple. So try to do it simple.
Understood. All right. Well, our time is not up, but our agenda is. So I think we should grade ourselves very generously on this podcast. Well, thank you very much to the panel who joined us from Europe, from London, Warsaw, Kiev, as well as Carrie, who joined us from the United States. Thank you to the audience. And I definitely learned a lot. Thank you very much, guys, for being with us. Hopefully that's not the last podcast that kind of we could do kind of in various aspects together. And Carrie will come back to you on the idea of kind of having kind of a more broader discussion within the EdTech space. And well, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Oleg. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.